And so we are back with part 3 of my reaction to this long video documentary of the internal downfall of DarkSydePhil. Man, and last time I left off on this for my last video recording of this reaction, I left off on the part where he, of course, ended off his relationship with Panda Lee. And, oh man, it's still... I still find it funny that the guy on the radio couldn't tell, like, oh, he had no clue that DSP was a grown ass man. It was like, ah, man, these kids, man. I was like, oh man, if only you knew, if only you knew, man. It's so. Then again, yeah, I mean, Phil is a child. He's a man child. He's as Craig like to put it, was it Craig? No, it was a comment. A comment that said it. Comment that said it well. Phil is a 40-year-old man child. So yeah. So now I'm on the beginning of. Excuse me, at Chipotle. On the part of the continued downfall. So now let's continue where we left off, shall we?
On his Twitch chat, a place only the current viewers are meant to see, Phil, in jealousy of popular creator iJustine, typed, quote, iJustine is busy getting gangbanged by EA executive staff all weekend. The only fucking reason she was actually hired in the first place, lol, unquote. Prominent detractor accounts
Wow. That's fucked to say. I follow iJustine too, right? I can name at least 3 reasons why she's like this. 1, she has a likable personality. Well, I mean, she is also cute. I'm not afraid to admit that too. And again, she's not like you, Phil. She actually... Well, I can combine... Yeah. Those are the 3 reasons I could say too. Those 3 reasons alone is why she's like that. She's more likable than you, Phil. And it has a great and has a cheerful personality, from what I've seen of her and, following her. So, and actually, it's not stupid. So, there's another part. So, unless there's something I don't know, but hey, that's just me I can't speak right now. From following her over the years. So, just saying, 3 examples right there, Phil. 3 reasons, oh, not 3 examples. 3 reasons why. 3 reasons right there. Man, the amount of jealousy in this man.
and were quick to not only spread it on Twitter, but also tag iJustine in it. To much surprise, iJustine responded, quote, why don't you...
I didn't know about this. I did not know about this, actually. This was back in 2017. Oh, no, I did not know about this.
Spamming everyone. He clearly has issues.
Yes,
unquote.
He does.
And Phil did have issues. For 10 years, Phil has had a dream job meant to provide a steady, easy income, while allowing one to work within their own set hours. Phil, on the other hand, had nothing to show for his near-decade-long residence. The stinking fact was he lost far more than he gained, and for a period he seemed starkly aware. Quote, I haven't had real in-person social interaction on a regular basis since like 2007, before YouTube started.
I mean, what? That's crazy. Dude, what do you be doing traveling, going to events and stuff for? I mean, tell me you don't have regular social interactions there either? Huh? That's crazy.
Once I started YouTube, that all went away. That's part of the sacrifices I keep bringing up to make this work. I can't have regular friends with the amount of time I put into this job. When I lived in CT, I had tons of money. As soon as I moved out here, poof, gone, unquote.
Yeah, I mean, isn't Washington more expensive to begin with, so moving to the West Coast, what did cost you a bit, I imagine. Damn. Should have probably stayed in Connecticut.
It is clear that he regrets his move, but he cannot accept it is his fault. That's when people ask if he maintains social relationships. Quote, I talk to tons of people on a daily basis. A user then asks, I mean like relationships or friends outside of Twitch. Phil responds, I don't have time for in-person friends. I'm constantly working. You realize I haven't had a day off since my time off in July, right? This is my life, and has been for quite a long time before I moved out here. Then it...
I mean, always begging for money, yeah?
Got better for 3 years living with my ex. But now I'm back to square one, really. Unquote. As recoiled as Phil was, dealing with persistent copyright strikes and whatever else his life brought him, he clung onto whatever was left of his following. Typical in periods lacking interest, trolls are more likely to find entertainment from consuming one another. The reality of communities like the one that works against DSP is that they are far more nuanced that they lead on. From the outside looking in, the detractor community is powerful in coordinating their campaigns against Phil. In actuality, it is very divided. Some hate Phil, some just want to catch up periodically. The majority don't interact in any way.
Mostly hate him.
These differences create cyclical arguments. For example, those wanting no universal interaction with Phil. Some reasons may lie in entertainment, as Phil's passive failings tend to be the most entertaining. They could also just be aware that putting themselves out personally will lead to ridicule in a space that exploits any weakness. Or they simply feel sympathetic to his plight. On the other end, you'll have those that want interaction with Phil, simply feel sympathetic to his plight. On the other end,
seeing the crumble of DSP is a case study in and of itself. That's very true, if I'm being honest. The ever-deepening downward spiral of a person who is now finally reaping what he's sown. Will he claw out of his bottomless pit, or will he fall out of existence? It's quite a fun spectacle. I mean, some way or another, he finds a way to keep crawling back. The man just never goes away. He's a living, as my friends put it, a living pig roach.
Those that want interaction with Phil. These can be small by typing messages in his chat to get a reaction or requesting a song on the radio. That is the simple basis of trolling. The overall effects are minimal and hardly controversial. Then you have those that feel personally slighted by Phil and seek revenge. This is where the illegitimate copyright strikes come from. They want Phil to fail in any way, and few strategies are out of their purview. Truly, the only defense in this space is self-awareness and anonymity. These members lack both. And the most interesting part is all these people inhabit the same space. Whether it be the forums or Phil's chat, they can be seen arguing endlessly.
Yep.
It is only a community out of convenience and nothing else. That's why it may look like the sons of Kojima would sit on top of this virtual hierarchy. But in actuality, the only thing they have claim to is they're the ones most dedicated to Phil. The group watches his streams for hours at a time to no benefit other than that claim.
They basically EFAP'd his streams. That's crazy. If you don't know what EFAP means, it's if you ever watch Muller, it stands for, it's short for every frame a pause. Recommend watching their videos though. They're long as shit, but good to watch while listening in the background.
By an overweight, middle-aged, failing, ailing creator. They were persistently hated within the detractor communities because they, being allowed to exist in their space, somewhat represented their community, albeit not accurately. Most dedicated channels, Twitter pages, and groups made for the sole purpose of following Phil are highly scrutinized, and if they become obsessed to the point they no longer represent any niche, they will always fail. That's why the Sons of Kojima collapsed in late 2017. Their leader, Fred Fox, was highly paranoid, morally confused, overall an oblivious individual.
Wait, is there actually a wiki on these guys? Oh man, how? I'm really out of loop on these things, not knowing there's actually a wiki page on these guys.
He was responsible for countless hours of footage criticizing Phil. He would crumble and get frustrated at even just his Encyclopedia Dramatica. These pages are known to be full of purposely inaccurate and exaggerative information to get a rise from who they're targeting. And his frustration from its creation further warranted its existence, as seen here where he is lambasting the creator of the page.
So how about this? I'll go fuck your mother for the laws and everything will be cool, right? No hard feelings?
I guess
Yeah,
if you want to like twist,
the laws.
if you just want to twist my logic into black and white, there, sure.
No, I mean that's what you're saying. You're saying you could do something if it's just for the laws. Nobody's supposed to get mad or offended.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you shouldn't take fucking Encyclopedia page Dramatica seriously.
There are also times when they invited Mr.
It looked like a wiki page to me. Okay, didn't know. Oh, yeah. Now with how it's designed, it looks very similar. With just a minor screenshots he's showing there.
Medicron, a creator well known for his banter.
Okay, how much money would it take, this is for all of you, for one of you to suck Phil's cock? What is the donation amount that would be required for you to get on your knees and orally pleasure Phil?
Whoever asked that, fuck you.
That means he's considering a number. You went silent because
I'm not gonna answer because I'm not interested in that. That's fucked up.
So you're telling me you're not going to suck a dick for $10 million?
No.
Really? You wouldn't suck a dick? You wouldn't get on your knees and slurp up some man mayonnaise for 10 million fucking dollary dues?
I don't want to lose my dignity.
Who gives a shit about dignity? You got $10 million in the bank. You can make people forget with the money. You can black hole
Some
that shit
people
on
are
the
too
internet.
prideful for
Does the
that.
thought of Phil gently rubbing your hair as he comes in your mouth, does that bother you that much?
What the fuck? This is so wrong on so many levels.
Well, there you go. They refused to answer. But if you notice, when I asked that question, they all went silent because they were thinking of a number. Every one of them was thinking of a number.
Some
Better
comments
got 'em.
under this near 50-minute long video read, quote, Christ, without any DSP material to commentate over or talk about, these guys just got nothing.
Yeah, true. Man, that's shocking to think about. That's not the Sons of Kojima were created solely for DSP. That's all they dedicated their time to, and eventually it became their downfall. Huh.
That's some weapons-grade humiliation. Christ, these guys are awkward. It makes me want to like Phil if these are his trolls. Unquote. On Kiwi Farms, there is a tremendous amount of information, detailing Fred's paranoia, his coordinated attacks at former and current members, his group's campaign of copyright striking DSP via fan art, and his attempts to regulate the community besides deciding what is and isn't allowed to be monetized on the basis of moral superiority over Phil. His antics and strange history are also entertaining. That was another reason why he was exposed and why there are over 2,000 posts discussing him. What mattered to Phil was that his most persistent detractor group was no more. And on September 2017, he released a twitlonger about it. It is here that Phil revealed that Pandalee's father was swatted in the past. This to him made it clear that no one in proximity to him was safe. This is the reason why he claims to have skipped Pandalee's brother's wedding. Quote, what did the SOK do? Well, first, they decided to find out the address and date of the wedding. Yes, that's entirely true. They're so fucking sick that they, on their own and without my mentioning it for months, researched and found the event, and then spread that info all over the internet. They then decided to spin it that the reason we weren't attending was because I had to force Leanna to skip it so I can stay home and play Fallout 4 to make money. They actually accused me of keeping her at home forcefully. It couldn't have been further from the truth. It was the crippling fear that the SOK themselves, who found the damn date and address of the wedding, would have swatted the wedding. That made us stay home. So not only were they the reason we missed the wedding, they then turned their own vile actions into a way to make us look bad after the fact. It's mind-numbing, isn't it?
Damn, if that's fucking true, Jesus, man. No wonder that there was that comment saying, yeah, if these are really his trolls, it makes me sympathize for Phil, make him more likable. Fucking hell. I don't know if that was true, man. Sons of Kojima are fucking crazy.
Unquote. After the fall of the Sons of Kojima, there was a rise in more passive trolling. On Phil's forums, there was a crop of clear catfishes that had all miraculously turned 18 years old at the time. Then there was a pirate-themed treasure map made of the places Phil frequented, and it was...
Wait, I see some of these things. Wendy's, Dairy Queen, Burger King, Taco Bell, Quiznos. I don't even know what that is. I don't know what to... I see KFC blurry in the background, McDonald's, Casual Mail Extra Large, Subway, Mall of... Oh, that's fucked. Mall of Lean. That's really fucked. There's Law Office. Don't know what that's about. Target, Safeway, Arby's, another one. Here the detractors. Uncrossable Bridge of Certain Death.
Often thought to enjoy. With the inclusion of health foods and a gym placed just out of his reach due to the uncrossable bridge of certain death. On Instagram, there was a new strategy of trolling through indifference. No matter what picture Phil posted, there was bound to be tens, if not hundreds of comments stating two words. Well, really just one word with two variations. Comments were either okay or okay. Without fail, these cropped up and overwhelmed any other comment. Even just comments wanting to understand what was going on were met with a single response, okay. Phil even treated his audience to a pretty unique unboxing video.
Spammed, was that, didn't...
Ladies and gentlemen, Phil here, and welcome to a pretty unique unboxing video.
Phil thought this video was unique because of what he was unboxing.
Geez, that's
what
just
made it unique was for the first 3 minutes, his reflection was easily visible. And he was doing two things. He was swaying left and right, and he was doing his famous T-pose. Phil had swayed much in the...
I remember Nathaniel and Peels telling me when they go in Gmod and work on their comic comic skits that they like to do, they like to add the T-posing a lot as a joke. One of the moves that they like to do for some of these characters that they in these comics do T-pose block, and of course, DSP's in that comic as a living immortal pig roach who can never die. He's seen it all. Just to go bits and pieces over that story, but yeah, now I get where that's coming from, even though they told me. Okay, so that's where the T-posing became more famous, unless it was famous before all that stuff. But hey, remember, don't know too much about DSP lore? This video is teaching me everything about it.
Rarely was it not in first-person view. He claims it is because of back issues. The snorting...
Christ, he snorts more than me. Ah, God. Ugh, I hate the sound of that. Hell, I hate the sound of that in my own videos when I hear it, especially for my playthroughs, because I try so hard not to, because I know it's just a sound I hate. Like, for me, I do have a bit of sinus issues, and I get sinus conditions from time to time. It's dialed down a lot over the years, thankfully, but I still have it sometimes to this day, so sometimes I'll still have those slight forcible snort from me trying to breathe through my airways at times, hence why sometimes if anyone's seen my videos, that's why you hear that. But man, I hate that comparison. It's like it's making me feel like excuse me, making me compare myself to DSP in some way. Ugh, I don't want to be like that. Ugh, never. But the snorting thing, I hate it. I hate it when I do it myself. Like I said, sinus congestion's a bitch.
Is blamed on what DSP claims is a post-nasal drip. The snorting plays into his depiction of a pig. Combined with his ability to remain online and survive like a cockroach came the derisive nickname Pig Roach.
That's where it came from. Okay. Now I know. That's how Nathaniel and Peels got that. Okay. Now, okay. I just thought they were just making that as our own nickname for a second. Okay. Good to know. I think they told me that like a while back. That was one of his nicknames. They didn't make it up themselves, I think. I just didn't remember exactly. Yeah, but I thought it was just a nickname they gave him. But no, okay, good to know. Like I said, don't have too much knowledge on DSP like this, so.
Laugh, his sway, his snorts, all could be, and some more, made into several minute-long compilations of Phil doing these singular actions. Phil doing these actions in tandem would also gain purchase. Then there were two food-related items that always got viewers' attention. The first was sparked by this tweet where DSP states he likes penne. What he means is he likes the pasta, but in Spanish, penne means penis. The last item viewers took note in was his drink of choice.
I think gin and tonic is my drink of choice. Not every single day, but I do have a gin and tonic or two every once in a while, maybe, a few times a week at night to unwind, especially if it's been a stressful day or if my back's hurting me. And yes, I do have a drink. Some gin and tonic. I guess I'll start the night right with a sip. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention this. I have a drink tonight. I have a gin and tonic next to me, which I'll be sipping from time to time. I won't be downing the whole thing.
It was not often that Phil drank on stream. However, this proclivity did extend outside of his streams. Sometimes the bottle or mixed drinks made his way into his vacation videos.
Everything else here, including the gin, which I'll probably drink mixed with that Sprite.
To indulge so much cost Phil a fair bit. But now, in addition to owing money to credit card companies and the like, he, in September, found that he owed money to a fierce collector.
I get this,
of course,
this letter, all right? I get this letter, and the letter says, we suspect that you are doing business in the state of Washington under the name DSP Gaming, okay? We believe that you need to register and pay state business and occupation taxes. Please answer all of these questions for us.
Phil, since he moved to Washington, had not been paying state taxes.
Ooh. That's a big ooh. Yeah, no, with the state and government, they'll come after you for them taxes, man. They'll come after you.
He claims the reason behind this is because he continued to list the services of his accountant from Connecticut.
To clear the air here, because a lot of people have misconceptions. My tax attorney in the state of Connecticut was a certified public accountant, was a dean of accounting at a college for several years, and was one of the highest accredited guys in the state of Connecticut. This is not some Joe Schmo asshole who I just got. And by the way, I paid this guy thousands of dollars to do my taxes, all right? I think the most he ever charged me was like over $1,500 one year to do my taxes properly.
The importance of this is now Phil was claiming to owe state taxes since 2014, stacking yet another reason why 2017 was the year that finally doomed Phil financially. But at least he wasn't bankrupt. The grander and more dramatic reveal this year was
He wasn't bankrupt yet. Not yet. Until we get to the story of him spending $40K on WWE champions. I cannot wait for that part.
his new girlfriend. Yet the reveal photos only show the back of her head. Phil, to be able to hide a relationship for this long was surprising. A reason for only showing the back of her head was that Phil was slowly starting to separate his personal and online life, meaning that there will no longer be condo tours or virtually any videos outside of his office, save for a few additional DSP TriZip videos like his attempt to recreate the virality of his Axe body scrubber video. This could only be beneficial. It wouldn't allow viewers to analyze his new purchases, his eating habits, anything that can be used against him, or even the people around him. Keeping Kat anonymous was likely Phil's attempt to protect her, though it did have its weakness and was immediately exploited.
So they fabricate this story that I hired an escort to come visit me during my Christmas break. I paid her thousands of dollars, or owe her thousands of dollars, apparently. I don't even know what the full story is because I'm not really following it.
Well, true to her word, Kimberly did know where to release that information too. Over on the forum, Kiwi Farms, a mysterious woman shows up to elaborate on what's going on.
Again,
In
it all
December
comes from Kiwi
2017,
Farms.
a mysterious woman claiming to be a high-end escort with a history with Phil was claiming that Phil had not paid her, and if she did not receive the money owed, then she would release all the details of the event. And so she did. On Kiwi Farms, she developed a somewhat shallow story of Phil taking her out to dinner and spending a fair amount of money on her. Sprinkled in are notes about his bad credit, his disappointing manhood, and general notes on his house. This reads as too good to be true, as it's hitting the notes that want to be heard, while simultaneously not providing evidence outside of a testimony. The Kiwi Farms users were highly skeptical, but even so were enjoying the chaos this person was causing. But day after day of not providing a single piece of evidence and users finding strange inconsistencies in her story, it was clear that the pieces were not fitting. It was only after users discovered that the images were not of this person's origin that she comes out and says she was hacked. It was not her at all. It was a catfish using her Twitter with stolen images.
Of course.
But no one was convinced. As a final Hail Mary, this person attempted to shift the blame on Fred Fox of the defunct Sons of Kojima by taking...
Well, can you blame him? It would seem like this is something he would do, though. Just hearing from what I heard about this Fred in this video.
taking down their website and bringing it back up with the simple Fred Fox in the heading. It was not until this fake escort's identity was found under a different name, Angelina Capri, that the true culprits were unmasked. It was quite easy to find the domain registry, and with it came the identity. The culprits quickly tried to amend this information, but it had already been archived.
Yep.
The original registry had their full name, address, phone number, and their email.
Ooh,
This gave the
they got
Kiwi Farms
doxed.
users everything they needed, and soon the culprits were fully doxed, including their cat. Revealed and archived was their personal YouTube channel, one of their daughter's YouTube channels, Twitter's, photo buckets, a lengthy history of information that was more than enough anyone needed to confirm this married couple ran an extortion and impersonation racket.
Wow. I'll be damned. You know, did they get jail time? I'd be surprised if they did. They deserve jail time. Even, I get it was DSP, man, but this is even too fucked up to try to do to him. Like, Jesus Christ. And look at you, dude. Look at this man. He does look like the type of loser that would do that shit to him. And I think he's married with kids. And he still did it.
They had a history of impersonating beautiful women and using their images to create profiles on adult websites where the wife would livestream her real body and pleasure herself, but only reveal her lower half as to not spoil the ruse. It was only when they tried to extort Phil through a different tactic and interact with his highly paranoid community that this was all discovered. If there was any doubt left, Phil would cave in and reveal his girlfriend Kat, who moved in shortly after.
Number one, like I said, it's the best relationship I've ever been in my life, okay? I feel like
Weren't you only in a relationship with Panda Lee before this? Wasn't that only your only other relationship?
Like, she's my soulmate. I do. I truly do. And I am in love with her. Absolutely. She's in love with me. And if she were to move in, number one, she has a job that she, you know, can probably find a job out here similar or whatever and make income to help immediately. Number two, cooking and everything, helping with the responsibilities of the house so I can get back to how I was.
And cook Cat did.
Damn. To be honest, that food looks good. I'd totally eat this too. Man, DSB, looks like you found wifey material here. Shit. Man, I would eat this too, man. And the question is, I don't know how you managed to get this to happen and end up in a relationship with Cat here. That's the big question, but still. Not bad. You managed to... But, we have yet to find out more about her personality anyway, so... I just know that's his wife, and I know looking at the more recent time she came on screen, she has not aged well. Yeah, I know that much.
The pair seemed well off. Even if Cat did appear awkward and uninteractive on stream, her uncombativeness was welcome. Where this Cat reveal caused relief, the next Cat reveal only brought frustration. What Phil was currently revealing was a sponsorship from OP Seats. The same day Phil revealed it, OP Seats terminated their contract with Phil due to the backlash they were getting.
So let's talk.
Of course. Of course, like, no matter what, if he tells people his sponsors and stuff like this, it's bound to backfire on him.
Because I want to tell you the full story of how I basically obtained sponsorship, and then all of a sudden, because of the actions of trolls, the sponsorship is now gone, okay?
Even so, in February, Phil procured a different sponsor but remained with a similar product of a gaming chair. Gaming chairs across the board are disreputable for their style of function. That was not the only reason SpawnSeats, the sponsor of Phil, was getting backlash. As it was discovered, this new company was not really a company at all. It was a person drop-shipping cheap gaming chairs with an inflated price. So not only did this new sponsorship fall through, the company attached to it failed along with it. Phil was hardly sympathetic.
Fact of the matter is, folks, it doesn't really affect me because guess what? I mean, I got the chair. I got the chair already. That's why I didn't do a lick of promotion until I got the chair. And I talked to the guy up front about this, the possibility of nasty shit happening. And he said, no, I understand. Don't worry, we'll put up with it. It is what it is, guys.
As much as detractors work to spoil his mood, they can hardly compete with the natural and novel interactions Phil has, like with this 11-year-old on VR chat.
Can you please go in the waiting room?
Sure, where is the waiting room?
Right behind you, idiot. You click on that.
You didn't have to call me an idiot. I just walked in the door. I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
Is this his first time on VR chat?
Well, if you look around, you would have been able to know. It literally says waiting room on top of it.
Wow. You're quite rude.
Wow.
Yeah, what do you expect for an 11-year-old online?
Good, now I'm away from that annoying fucking bitch of a kid who I would have slapped in real fucking life if they talked to
Shouldn't say that, though.
me like that. I would have fucking pimp slapped that shit out of that.
This Pokemon-themed pixel art was made to commemorate the occasion. These small moments carried Phil's live streams for 2018. Nothing individually significant happening, but enough happening to remind the internet of his existence. This all hardly competed with ongoing events. Relative to the collaboration between popular live streamer Ninja and popular musician Drake, DSP was practically non-existent. Until he began tweeting about their collaboration, starting by calling Drake and Ninja overrated. Phil sought to detract from...
I mean, I can sort of agree to that, but yeah. Seeing that happen, though, back then, like about 6 years ago, it was a big deal, so...
from the likes of which were rarely, if ever, seen. Tweet after tweet, he argued with Twitter users. At some point, he even slided PewDiePie, claiming he is a product of hype and not quality content. Either these interactions struck a chord, or Phil was just in many prominent content creators' minds as, in not-so-quick succession, they took their turns mocking Phil. Like iDubbbz promoting the idea of Phil doing a collaboration with any rapper. In the background, there were leaks about Phil wanting to take down a video that for a short moment mentioned the Escort saga. But in the foreground was PewDiePie.
You may not like it, but this is what peak performance look like. Onion Man versus Soy Boy.
I just think...
I'm sorry, that part made me laugh there. That one was made me laugh. This part here. Oh, we're going back to this, aren't we?
was goaded into another response from the same quote.
Oh.
And Phil finally also made it into a Watch Mojo video.
This Twitch user has a bad idea of prematurely turning on his camera. Right before starting the live stream, he gives himself a short break to relax.
Oh, the camera's on. The camera's been on the whole time, huh? I don't even know.
Of course DSP got on Watch Mojo. Why wouldn't he?
There was a renaissance of sorts in ways creators were able to make Phil entertaining. Few as creative as El Crimson King.
This fucking piece of shit? This disc? You see this fucking piece of garbage disc? Fuck it. It's gonna stay back there forever. I'm never fucking picking it up again. Don't ever ask me to play that fucking game again. That's the worst fucking game. That game is way worse than Revolution 60. Seriously.
Behind you, idiot. You click on that.
You didn't have to call me an idiot. I just walked in the door. I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
This video...
Oh, that's actually pretty funny to see that. That made me laugh. That's actually pretty... I give that is clever. That is pretty clever. Props to you.
It would be honored by the creation of its own snore compilation. This emphasis on creative ways to mock Phil made the latter half of 2018 appear creatively bankrupt in comparison. In the same vein, Phil was also suffering from his own potential bankruptcy.
Basically, in a nutshell, without going into too much detail, I'm not partnered anymore.
In July, he announced that he had split from Curse, claiming the separation to be amicable. Now, having to rely on his own, unsuspended assets account, Phil found that he was making far less than he was with his partnership.
Ooh,
on top of this, his views were halved without explanation, going from an average of 2 million a month to hovering just around 1 million. And so Phil did what he calls an emergency livestream, trying to brainstorm ways and goad sympathetic viewers.
Damn, that dislike ratio though. Ooh.
To help with donations. Provided was also advice. A common recommendation is to get a job outside of content creation. Phil, not wanting to consider this option, had these messages delivered in rather creative ways. Phil, being a fan of the WWE, reacted to this person holding...
Of course they have that here. DSP, get a job.
up a sign that reads, quote, DSP, get a job, unquote. This was not even the first time this happened. Last year, a person held up a similar sign, though less legible.
DSP,
Phil opting to continue streaming to a dwindling audience would suffer the consequences of dealing with his remaining audience. These are superfans that stuck with him regardless of countless examples of Phil's ill will, and on the other side are his most persistent trolls that remain even after the majority of trolls lost interest in Phil's cyclical nature. On the other side was a user known as Student Common, or TUT for short. They came in donating thousands of dollars, but also used the money they donated as leverage as they could circumvent what will get a normal person banned simply because of their influence. But even TUT pushed this beyond what Phil could endure. After creating much unwanted attention for Phil and Phil pushing back, TUT threatened to charge back the money he donated. A chargeback is when someone donates money, gets the desired effect of having the streamer read their message, and then, in a later date, petitions PayPal or whatever financial medium they're using to get their money back. This is done by stating that the money was fraudulently sent or by other dishonest means. And TUT did try to charge back some of that money, only to fail as PayPal sided with Phil. This was a victory for Phil, but in the grand scheme of how much he was bound to owe, it didn't seem like much.
In addition to my normal income, I need to raise about another roughly $16,000 between now and April.
This plays into why Phil is labeled as an e-beggar, a person that petitions,
he
guilts, or even demands donations from their audience. While it is normal for streamers to subtly stimulate donations through appreciation, Phil's tactics are more direct.
Taxes are going to be my main thing I have to figure out this year. Making enough money not only to pay the bills, but my taxes are coming up, and right now I'm focused on just getting through this year. Hopefully being able to pay my taxes somehow. I'll be honest with you guys. Yeah, taxes are always something that are on my mind. I've got tax payments due. My state taxes are due in January. My federal taxes are due in April. If I could get through paying the taxes for next year, the federal taxes. Their taxes were high. Things like tip goals and the like on stream to try to raise funds for my taxes and all that.
This very much works. In December, Phil's relentless discussions of money launched him into the 4th highest number of Tier 3 subs. These are subscribers that cost $25, and somehow Phil got 204 of them. With an average of 372 viewers means that each viewer paid on average $13 solely from their Tier 3 subs. But also the donations are disproportionate as subscriptions can be gifted. Donations in other tiers of sub have also been taken into consideration, and Phil also receives donations that for the time being were not accounted for. Typically, surges in donations or the like are linked to unique or interesting streamers rising in the ranks receiving donations to produce more of their content. And to Phil's credit, he was planning to do something unique. Something no streamer would ever even consider. And that is a marathon to raise money to pay for his taxes.
Alright, it's going to be via tips, meaning the only real viable way for you to contribute and help me out in this situation is to tip me, because you tip me via sending funds to my PayPal.
People actually
and
do
that allows
this?
me to have those funds right away and put
Oh
those
my
funds
God.
toward my taxes.
The marathon was to take place in March of 2019. The goal was to raise around $5,000 through tips. And as Phil mentioned, the tips he received, which is the money he made through PayPal and not subscriptions or other Twitch integrated services, would be used towards taxes.
More than likely, probably now, at this point, I've probably raised like around $900 to $950, because every dollar tip I only get 67 cents out of. I probably got, no lie, like $500 tips today, and all those only like 60%. So, but it is what it is. Thank you guys.
This was not very close to his $5,000 goal, so Phil did a second marathon in April where he made a bit more money as seen through the bar at the top, again stating where all the money would go to.
I said some people have been asking me questions like, so what's going to happen now? It's very simple. With all the money that I've raised for these taxes, I'm going to go to my tax guy and say, this is what I have.
There was some natural skepticism and some paranoia around Phil, as he has shown himself to be a dishonest person. And so, in the detractor community, wild theories spread, but only the most gullible swallowed all theories around Phil. The newest theory came from the blindsiding reveal that Phil had gotten married to Kat and used the funds earned from the tax marathon streams to finance some of the wedding. But Phil got on stream to quell some of the unrest.
And by the way, as I'm going to explain, don't worry, again, everything's going to be explained. Everything I've told you guys up front about that stuff is true. Everything, every dollar that was raised to help with taxes is going towards the taxes.
Now Phil is reasserting that all the money went to taxes. But later in the day, he states that was not the case.
And I did. I did 2 different marathon events, alright, that raised, in total, if you actually look at the amount of tips that I raised that can go towards these taxes, was around, I think, I want to say just under $2,500. But also what people need to understand, which they don't, is that normally I raise tips. And normally tips go to paying bills. So even though I raised $2,500, a chunk of that had to just go to pay my monthly stuff normally. And so even though I raised $2,500, in reality, it was probably under $2,000 that I had left over afterwards to put towards the federal taxes.
Phil had lied throughout his marathon streams and the streams afterwards by now stating that over $500 or so went towards his bills and other expenses. This contradiction seemed too great, so I asked Phil about it. Phil responded with a superbly long-winded response. His answer is buried in this line, 2 words in his 357-word response. Quote, I misspoke, unquote, meaning that he misspoke about all the money going to taxes. What I failed to mention was this was not the only piece of evidence I had reconfirming that all the money from his fundraising would go to taxes.
But again, as I've already said, I can assure all of you that there was no deception whatsoever on my part outside of the fact that the wedding existed. All funds that I raised for taxes and the like are going towards taxes. Not a dollar, not a single dollar that was supposed to be raised for taxes went towards anything during this wedding or anything. Nothing.
The clear answer is Phil lied, and the money raised is unaccountable.
Of course he did.
What few people knew at the time was Phil had a 10-year plan. In a conversation with his mother, who had bailed him out previously and delayed a potential bankruptcy, Phil was presented with 2 decisions. File for bankruptcy, delayed a potential bankruptcy. Phil was presented with 2 decisions. File for bankruptcy or develop a 10-year plan. This 10-year plan was meant to phase him out of content creation into a more traditional job. It was even clear to his family at this point that his online presence was only causing trouble for him and those surrounding him. Even now, there was an uproar of displeasure where a few mods were rebelling and leaking private chats and other items surrounding Phil due to his recent lies about where the marathon money was going. Phil did not understand the depth of this backlash. On the flip side, Phil did not understand goodwill either. On May 9, 2019, Phil tweeted, quote, "Took a day off the entire internet, but hashtag #ProJaredHilarity was at the top of everyone's Twitter feed. Haha, whoops," unquote. Now that ProJared was going through his own controversy sparked from his lewd Tumblr and confusing open relationship, Phil jumped in on the anti-ProJared bandwagon. After this resoundingly successful tweet, Phil went on a stream chat and simultaneously downplayed and exaggerated the success of the tweet. By the 11th, Phil was so confident that this tweet was bringing him the goodwill of the internet that he made this.
The reason I'm doing this is because in the past couple of days, the internet at large has finally kind of turned an eye to me for the first time in a major way in a long time, in an actual positive light.
This video is titled DSP Tries It, Debunking 7 Years of Slander. In a nearly 2-hour video, Phil took a cursory glance at some of his controversial moments, like the time he said Minecraft was stupid, dating Panda Lee while she was 18, or explaining the escort drama that had long been proven false. Lacking here was everything else, from his financial woes, his treatment of his audience, his lashing out at other creators through minimizing their achievements or insulting them altogether. Phil's video was completely lackluster. Even a successful video dispelling his controversies would not change the fact that the reason people watch Phil is to laugh at his antics. His Saucy Mondays, streams where he goes off camera to stir a pot of Italian sauce, has no inherent value to regular people. But his lies, on the other hand, tend to be captivating.
Marky Mark says, "What is my favorite drink? I like White Russians." Oh, I never had a White Russian before. Never had a White Russian.
What drew viewers' attention now was a reveal stream with a $1,000 goal. Phil promised a big, positive reveal. Users guessed all throughout, none of them hit the mark. Some even thought that the reveal was a new cat, which Phil denied. Finally, the goal was hit, and the positive reveal came.
I got someone I'd like you to meet. Come on up here. Come on up here, buddy. You want to come up here? You want me to pick you up?
Actually got a cat.
Someone who actually is not a new addition to the family. Someone who I'm going to introduce you to today, who has been a part of our lives for quite some time, in fact. All right? And it's funny because with all the stuff that we've had to do, we've had to keep a lot of stuff private. Come on up here. Here he is. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to our pet.
Phil's reveal was his cat Jasper, but users already guessed the reveal was a new cat. Phil's reasoning was they did not guess correctly enough.
So a lot of people, you're right, a lot of people did guess that a cat was the thing. The thing, a lot of people say, oh, it's a new cat, it's a new cat. It's not. Jasper actually has been our cat for a while.
On top of this, Phil got another $1,000 donation from a single donor through the miscommunication of there being a second positive reveal. The easiest way to find out how controversial a stream was to find out how many bans occurred that day. And according to this user-made graph, the day Jasper was revealed, there were 451 bans on his stream. But this graph relates to Phil's stream only. On September 29, 2019, Phil was seen not on his own channel, but on the Quarterings, a creator who is controversial in his own right, but utilizes it to make a living. This is something long anticipated.
I like some of the Quarterings videos. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. The man tries to do what he does. Like, I agree with some things he says, but generally there are some things he does still that make me not like him, honestly. So, got really no problems recording. I just don't like some of the things he does. I agree with some things, I don't agree with some things. But yeah, I totally did not know he went onto the Quarterings channel to,
Because Phil sits in the relative safety of his own streams and controls the dialogue. Adding a different prominent creator would mean there would be no place to hide, and some have tried to secure an interview with Phil. But Phil is very careful, very selective. He only allows those ignorant of his rich history to reach him. And even then, there can be stipulations in place to block some of the most demanding questions. Like, how much does Phil owe? Where do the thousands of dollars in donations end up? Does he believe himself to be financially responsible? And instead of that, viewers got this.
This is the most popular question.
Okay.
Oh boy. So you actually went on an interview for
Where
the
did the load go?
Normally, a like-to-dislike ratio is the most basic way to see how much viewers agree with any which video. But this time, there is something better. The Quartering a Softball interview got 90,000 views. These can represent interest in particularly how many care to view it, how many align with the interview. With that in mind, It's a Gundam, a channel that is hardly DSP-centric, covered the interview and broke down how Phil misrepresents himself while going into
this guy I like though. It's a Gundam I like.
some of the deeper Phil lore.
I didn't know he
It's
did
a
this
Gundam's
too.
video blew the Quartering's interview out of the water, as not only was it twice as long as expected from an analysis, but it also stands with 1.6 million views.
Damn,
Even
that's the most views I've probably ever seen on someone do it for was anything DSP related. That's crazy.
then, It's a Gundam willingly skipped over or just summarized much of the Phil lore only pertinent to the interview. Phil's endless list of controversial moments was in the end helping him. Even if Phil acts dastardly, there is so much information needed to understand how all its controversies tie into one another, that virtually anyone not in the detractor community is indifferent to anything non-viral that Phil does. What's a drop in an already overflowing bucket? What also helps Phil are his worst trolls that allow him to misrepresent and discredit the detractor community as a whole. On Kiwi farms, doxings are a common sight. Information spread for the sake of harassment. At one point, these were not so common until one individual showed up on the farms. A user that went by Nigel of UKIP. For what would be the next couple of years, this individual will freely dox those in Phil's vortex. It's hard to say how he was doing it. He could have had insider information and somehow used the donor's PayPal information to craft a dox, or simply just searched for usernames across social media websites until he found commonalities, ultimately leading to the dox of those within the Phil sphere. The only other strange instance of doxing was from a difficult-to-cover story, as the relevant threads where this mass dox was held were expunged. And of course, the Wayback Machine excludes Kiwi Farms. All that is left are recollections and videos that serve of evidence of its existence. Quote, here's a pretty good recap of the entire docu-show. But since the thread itself has apparently been nuked, I'll just add some context and missing details for anyone who wasn't around back then. It was known as the January Harvest of 2018. It started because BSV got into a tangle with the nasty on here. Apparently got stupid ugly, families threatened, etc. The KF dog sluts issued an ultimatum to DSP. Admit publicly to your tardians that your main pay whale, BSV, has been saying doing some stupid shit. Which yes, at the time, are where going to drop a super dox at a rate of 1 per day on your The King of Hate Farm Dwelling Redacted. This will begin on X date and continue until you have done this one simple and justified and true thing. Basically just disavow BSV's behavior. Lull unironic Freedom Forum members and Kiwis with trolling accounts over there alike and become tremble with fear. No one is safe, lol. Philip Piss Baby Fuck You Burnell responds by shoving his head in the quicksand. Turbo doxing commences. After like 3 days of this Waco standoff, his terrified forum users go from screaming at Phil to do something to stop this and to a 5-alarm dumpster fire. Standoff continues until Phil's revenue begins tanking a bit. He's now forced to address this matter on air. Does nothing, says nothing he was told to admit. Advises his audience that anything the bad doxing men have done to them is their fault. Not his because they're stupid and they use his forum, lol fair, and have personal shit in their online profiles that anyone can see. Which would have been his one valid argument in all this if it hadn't been tendered in his signature blame-shifting desperation and also contradiction by some other horseshit he said 30 seconds later. The victims of these cyberbullies shoulder all the blame in this, and everyone is stupid because you should just know that any internet presence puts you at risk of, well, everything. NMF and ICD. Dox Harvest continues. Despite having zero leverage, Fatboy gives the infamous 19-hour olive branch speech as a counter-offer to everyone who doesn't dick ride him on the internet. Peaceful coexistence? Okay. No more talking shit from either side? Sound good? 9 seconds later, he resumes talking shit about dirt detractors. No negotiating with terrorists, though. Harvest continues. Harvest got tedious as it quickly became obvious that most of the people that orbit him are boring turbospeds. Minor wheelchair exodus. Harvest ends. Phil advises the internet that this constitutes a hard W for him. Oh, to see the world through the blurry gin goggles of his squinty dead eyes. Phil resumes pushing buttons. Unquote. That was a quick rundown of what was called the January Harvest.
What the hell, man?
These are also linked to a longer rundown of 3 videos. The overall runtime of those videos are 4.5 hours. As a reminder, these videos are considered the insignificant parts of Phil's history. The larger portions have longer running history and tie themselves well together. Like at the start of 2020, there were two things around Phil being discussed. A bankruptcy, which had its own honorary sign displayed at a WWE pay-per-view event,
DSP
which is also
bankrupt.
attached to the theory around a mobile game known as WWE Champions.
Here it is. Here it is. We're getting to the bankruptcy part. All because he's the part where he... All because he spent $40K on fucking WWE Champions. Like, what the fuck?
The bankruptcy is far more forward and clear, and has been a long time coming, with Phil discussing his want to file for bankruptcy through 2019. Only now, in January 2020, was the process underway.
But basically, eventually, I sat down and I saw a lawyer and talked to the lawyer, and the lawyer said, you know, with your situation, you know, there's really no way out besides declaring bankruptcy. Like, there's no way. How are you going to get out of not only owing all this debt that you have behind the scenes through credit cards and loans, but now you've got a home that you can't pay for and they're going to foreclose on you. Chances are they're going to sue you.
The bankruptcy forms made it into the hands of the detractors.
Of
In
course
these dense,
it did.
lengthy legal forms were revelations that finally, among many other things, put a number on Phil's total debt. The unsecured creditors on page 20 list all of Phil's unsecured claims, so items that had no collateral such as personal loans and credit cards. The page 1 of 7 on the bottom right corner was already hinting at the sheer amount of debt Phil had incurred. The only thing more impactful will be going through all the individual accounts. And so, number 1, $1,100 to an American Express card. Number 2, $6,400 on a different American Express card. Number 3, $26,000 to Bank of America. Number 4, $2,700 to BMW of North America. Number 5, $10,700 to a Capital One credit card. Number 6, $14,100 to a Chase credit card. Number 7, $8,500 to a Citibank credit card.
Jesus.
Number 8, $13,800 to a different Citi.
I didn't know it was this much debt. Like, I didn't even see... Like I said, I never went up... I saw Mercator streams on the on DSP's bankruptcy, but I didn't even know the documents and the total numbers for it. It was. I mean, since it was years ago, I didn't really remember that much or pay attention to it too well. I just remember that happened, and you know, WWE Champions was $40K, and that it eventually went through somehow. Somehow it went through.
Bank credit card. Number 9, $15,600 to Citibank. Number 10, $10,000 to a Discover credit card. Number 11, $9,300 to Lenny Club Corporation. Number 12, $4,300 to Prosper Marketplace. Number 13, $3,800 to Sam's. And finally, number 14, $4,700 to US Bank. This comes to a grand total of $131,550.28.
Fucking hell. Damn. He owes that much. Jesus. I would hate to be him.
The secured loans with collateral, include his car and Washington condo, which was now his only condo. To add to this, on page 19, readers could see Phil still owed over $100,000 on his Connecticut condo, in which he originally purchased for $131,000. This means he was paying the minimum, where if he really wanted to, he could have paid the entire thing off and lived there within just a few years of purchasing it. Instead, he is now here,
could've.
11 years later, owing the IRS $15,000, having virtually no credit, being stripped of what little he accrued, and being returned back to nothing. Was it worth enduring a decade of trolls, daily streams, managing lies, and being hated in the only community you know?
No. It really wasn't. It really wasn't.
The answer is yes, because Phil has something almost no one else has.
Which was...
13 WWE Superstar, introducing Down from the Rafters.
Oh. He had wrestling. Oh my god.
Phil's plights were all worth it because of this Candy Crush, gotcha-designed phone game themed around the WWE, known as WWE Champions. It is
So, the bankruptcy... Did the bankruptcy happen before the whole WWE Champions story? Oh, okay. Yeah, now I get it. Yeah, it did. if June went over the bankruptcy story first before the WWE champs. Okay, so he filed for bankruptcy before the WWE champion story. Okay, before that whole debacle happened. Okay, that makes sense. Still, where did you end up getting the money for $40K?
It's important to note that Phil has refuted investing into this game to the extent people have claimed. Despite a mountain of very strong evidence, he has room to dismiss it because there is no smoking gun. Phil has a history of playing other mobile games themed around the WWE, and was not shy to spend money on microtransactions to get an advantage. However, on WWE Champions, there is an account that has seen some tremendous climbing in the leaderboards that would be impossible without microtransactions.
Yeah.
This account's name
Fucking 38. Like, what the
was
hell?
They Call Me DSP. Phil's Twitter handle is also They Call Me DSP. Phil has a history of using that username in other apps like Pokemon Go, and Phil in the past has admitted to playing.
WWE Champions is a game that plays a lot like Candy Crush, of all games, or what's the other one, Bejeweled. It plays like those two games with wrestlers, and honestly the game cheats and is not very good, but I just play it because it has wrestlers in it.
What detractors seek to prove is that the account They Call Me DSP is indeed DarkSydePhil. If they can attach this account to Phil, then that alone proves that Phil spent tens of thousands of dollars on this game. This is where TJ Gamebox comes in, a person that plays the same mobile game. He was dragged into this mess through unscrupulous threats.
We're playing WWE Champions, and we're part of a guild called Xena. And the guild, unfortunately, was joined by a person that was named They Call Me DSP. The second that he was in my guild, a lot of people in my guild were threatened to be doxxed by detractors.
God damn, these detractors are fucking out of control sometimes.
For having him in the guild because they didn't want us to go ahead and give him any prominence in the game.
It was clear that detractors were keeping tabs on the They Call Me DSP account, and they were following this account through various guilds, threatening guild members in-game. Other guilds, like TJ's guild, would adhere to the detractor demands and remove They Call Me DSP. It is also important to note that besides Phil claiming that he does not own the account, attempts have been made to reach out to the They Call Me DSP account to see if the owner could somehow prove that they were not DSP. The owner was not cooperative, which gives more fuel to the theory. As for TJ, having some prior knowledge of Phil became interested in this investigation.
So I went further into it. I decided to keep track of money, keep track of tabs, keep track of when he's online. When I would find that he was online whenever DSP was offline. And whenever he was online, streaming, that account was offline.
The thing is, with higher spenders or those more invested in games, guilds, clans, whatever it may be, drift off their game and use third-party software to communicate with one another. This, in most cases, is Discord, but in other cases it can be apps like WhatsApp, which is primarily used for communication. There is also the Line app, which serves a similar function.
Yeah,
and as it so happens, one of the guilds They Call Me DSP joined was using the Line app.
When I noticed he joined one of the guilds, there was a part where he could be part of the Line app. It says Line app was used for communication. So I did a little bit of digging and found that if you connected his phone number, because this phone number is public, onto the Line app, it popped up with They Call Me DSP.
This is a strong form of verification. You type in your number, then the app sends a message with a code to that number. This is rather straightforward because though numbers can be duped with outgoing messages, messaging the number back will result in reaching the actual number and not any spoofed one. Forgetting about the need of phone verification, Phil initially dismissed it as a troll with creating a Line account under They Call Me DSP.
Sounds like someone made an account in my name to try to fucking screw me over, just like Discords and everything else that's happened this year. I know nothing about it, but it sounds like you're a conspiracy theorist, doesn't it?
A viewer then informs Phil that his number is tied to the Line app account, to where Phil changes his tune.
Vidibit Big Boy, you have to enter a code from an SMS message when you download the app. The troll has access to your text messaging. I'd contact the authorities if I were you. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm just, seriously, like there's no way to dupe one of these app companies into thinking that you are using a phone number that you're not, right? Or there's no possible way that in the 6 years since my cell phone's been doxxed that I changed my number, right? No way possible that I would have possibly done that, right?
Phil claims two things. Firstly, that it may be possible to fool a company through a spoofed number, which it is not. The second is Phil introducing the potential that he changed his number during this time, which was countered by someone calling Phil's number and getting this.
They actually called him?
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system. Phil Burnell.
Yep. Busted.
Not only that, when ranting about John Rambo, he slips up.
I have nothing to make amends for at Rambo. I never mistreated the guy. The guy was always told me that he was happy when we were doing work together and everything. He's the one who cut off contact with me and lied to me saying everything was all right, but then stopped talking to me and then made a negative video about me later. He would have to reach out to me. I am the one who still has the same phone number. I'm the one who, you know what I mean? Like, I'm the guy who's still easily reachable.
Yep.
What this proves is Phil has a line account. And also another item to stack on the massive pile of Phil's lies. But again, Phil could run with the narrative that just because he has a line account that is also under the Call Me DSP, that doesn't prove that he plays WWE champions. And so the investigation continues and lands on a different third party, Discord.
So I have sources of him joining and being kicked out of my guild. I have sources of him being in another WWE Champions Discord and me talking to him.
This is significantly more promising than the Line app, because unlike the Line app, They Call Me DSP's Discord is clearly seen interacting with TJ's guild. And while anyone could choose whatever name they please on Discord, all accounts had to have a unique code attached to them. And thanks to a bot archiving the people that left the Discord, that not only shows the name, but also unique
showing DSP's Discord profile.
Discord ID, which is 4058. At the time, Phil also had a secret mod Discord, and a rogue mod just happened to leak Phil's unique Discord ID, which was also 4058.
Of course.
Though the numbers are clear, what Phil now relies on is trying to state that the evidence itself is illegitimate. Somehow, one way or another, some image is altered, and of course, they never used Discord for those purposes.
The only time I ever used Discord was to chat with people back when I had a partnership with Twitch and stuff like that. I had a contact who I chatted to in Discord. But outside of that, I've never used it for anything else. I don't even know what Line app is. I guess it's just chat. I don't know. Maybe it does do those other things. I have no idea.
At this point, one can reasonably deduce that They Call Me DSP is Phil. Though Phil claims what should be definitive evidence is false, and relies on his minuscule credibility to sway his audience. And so the investigation continues to find something more definitive that Phil cannot excuse as false. This is where the bankruptcy documents come into play. His expenses are most pertinent.
Yeah, I find it funny. I did remember watching the stream where Ricada listening in on his bankruptcy call for all this stuff. I still find it funny when he was going over a call doing the bankruptcy. They were listing all his games and consoles and all stuff, and he was saying, yeah, that's all business related. Yeah. He's saying, yeah, all my video game expenses and consoles are all business related. I still find that funny, considering that's all business related. It's all part of the DSP brand, man, so I can use them as business expenses. And it still boggles my mind. It somehow went through.
On page 32 of his bankruptcy petition, these personal expenses are itemized between him and his wife. His monthly expenses come around to $5,100. His mortgage and tax payment plan make up for nearly half of his personal expenses. There's nothing eyebrow-raising here. But then you look on Form 122A, the monthly business income and expenses. Here you find something entirely different. On page 4, it shows what Phil's income for the months of July, August, September, October, November, and December of 2019 were. He never made under $8,000, and in just these 6 months made a total of $55,000. But did he really? In this form, he listed his business expenses, which are separate from personal expenses. Expenses meant to only be related to his content creation job. These expenses are $9,000 for the month of July, $5,400 for August, $3,100 for September, $4,400 for October, $4,300 for November, and $4,900 for December. In July alone, he claims to have lost $867 from his streaming job somehow. And because these do not have to be itemized, as the only purpose of this form is to make sure you're not making enough money to reasonably pay off your debts, means Phil does not have to explain how a job, with virtually no overhead, where at most his expenses should be limited to purchasing games, is costing him thousands of dollars a month. What's more, on his bankruptcy petition on page 14 of 50, he claims to only have $1,500 in business assets. So as the courts would
Lies.
see it, these expenses would have to go into services. It is understood that Phil doesn't pay his mods. On the contrary, his mods pay him. He asks viewers to pay for his games. He doesn't use any services for his business that would charge those thousands of dollars. And so this leaves many to believe this is how Phil hides his WWE Champions transactions, labeling them as business expenses. Which if Phil can play to the government's
Of
ignorance
course.
of his content creation job so long as they see it as profitable, then perhaps Phil can also do this on his taxes. And so what does Phil have in response to these official documents? When I asked him, quote, do you believe it's incorrect/possible that you spent solely that much on your business for those months? He responded with, it's not just possible, it's true. That's what my attorney submitted and that's what was reviewed and approved in the bankruptcy case. But specifics I can never talk about because 1, I didn't do those calculations. The attorney did, so I honestly have no idea what they actually include. And number 2, I wouldn't publicly talk about any expenses, personal or business-wise regardless. It's literally nobody's business besides the bankruptcy court. Unquote. Phil refused to itemize his expenses, citing both his ignorance of them and the privacy around them. There are also clear discrepancies on the filings. On page 12 of 50 in the bankruptcy petition, the box is checked that he doesn't own any non-farm animals, but he owns his cat, Jasper. There is also speculation on the valuation of his Washington condo, as on page 1150, it states it is valued at $379,000 according to Zillow. These smaller items made people ever more speculative of Phil and the WWE account that vanished. They called me DSP disappeared from the game, but there was an account that had similar stats.
They call me DSP, to the Gun Show 87, to now Down from the Rafters, which, by the way, you cannot use the name Down from the Rafters in WWE Champions because the name is too big to use. So that means it was changed by a bot. It was changed by Scrollbly.
Down the Raptors was the last name change. As the account stated, this will be the last time they would try to change their name, as it was clear that they could not hide from the trolls that follow them, thinking that they are, quote, some idiot video game streamer that they hate, unquote. By 2020, Phil was adamant that he had quit all mobile games. Not even just recently, but all the way back in 2018.
In 2018, I quit all mobile games. I don't play them anymore. I got rid of them. I said, I'd rather focus time on important stuff with my family and stuff. I don't waste time. They're all, I keep telling you guys this. Mobile games are money sinks. You'll put money into it, you put time into it and money into it, and you don't get anything really out of it unless you're constantly keep playing and sinking more money into it.
And you did a lot of that, didn't you, Phil? You did a lot. 40K worth.
That's the truth of the matter. Quit all those mobile games because they were just pay to win. It got to the point where they're really fun to play at first, and then you realize you can't actually progress unless you drop money to get all the new cards.
Far more captivating at the time was the ongoing bankruptcy proceedings.
Okay, the next matter is Philip Burnell.
This is the phone
Rochelle
call?
Sheffield for the debtor, and Philip Burnell is with me. He's in your office with you? Yes. Okay, Mr.
Yeah, this is
Burnell,
the
you
phone
there?
call?
I am present. Yeah.
That audio was from a 341 meeting. In this meeting, the debtor, Phil Burnell, is accompanied by his trustee. A basic rundown of this meeting is to catch discrepancies within the bankruptcy filings. Creditors are expected to, but often don't attend. This call took place during COVID. Many facilities were closed, and the online space was looked upon as the temporary replacement, a place where Phil's trolls lived.
Nancy? Yes? Sorry, there's 60 people on the line for this call.
Of course. Of course, no matter what, Phil can never escape those trolls coming after his ass.
So I think that's the problem. Okay.
A reason so many were invested in this call, some even live streaming it, was to see if Phil's inexplicable business expenses would be questioned.
What is WWE Network? WWE
Oh,
Network.
WWE Network. That is just an on-demand video service for watching, professional wrestling. That is not business related.
Many, with the opening of that question, thought that was the moment Phil was caught. But it was just the service that was being asked about.
You've provided me a copy of your PayPal account for 1 month. I would like to see the last 6 months of both of your PayPal statements.
Oh no, it's gonna happen.
This also turned out to be a false positive. But again, hopes were up when Phil was asked to explain his business expenses.
What do you consider a business expense?
Anything relating, to the business per the instruction of my tax attorney. So it could be, the cost of a video game, the cost of a subscription for a video game, a microtransaction within a video game, the cost of a piece of new equipment, maintenance on said equipment every month. It could be the internet, cost of internet every month. It could be cost of, utilities necessary for the business, cost of cell phone for the business.
This was dismissed rather easily, likely through the ignorance of the attendees. But if anything, it did prove that Phil knew how his business expenses were calculated, making people more curious about what they could be now that he couldn't dismiss the expenses as being ignorant of them. And then the meeting was turned to the quote-unquote creditors.
Okay, I have no further questions. Are there creditors on the line?
Hello?
Yes, are you a creditor?
There was only one person willing to confront Phil. It was a troll concealed as a creditor from Citibank who had one burning question.
Of course.
Reviewing your filing, it looks like you stated here that you have about $5,000 a month in business expenses. Can you itemize that for me?
Hold on.
Ooh.
Legit. Right. I don't need these.
What followed was a few seconds of silence. Phil was likely in conversation with his trustee and came back with this.
Nancy, I'm not sure this person is for Citibank.
I'm sorry, excuse me?
While the troll continued to masquerade as a...
Yeah, good call. Good call there. Good to catch the trolls.
Representative of Citibank, through his persistence that Phil was attempting to distract from the question, there was issue with his question. With the meeting looking at the Schedule J form, the questions were pertaining to Phil's personal expenses. This is a personal bankruptcy. His business was only glanced over, with the attendees satisfied with Phil's as a solid, esoteric explanations. And so they referred him to his personal expenses, which were already broken down. Not too long after the meeting ended, with just one more outburst from a troll.
Why am I poisoned? Why am I toxic?
Of course.
This meeting, in terms of wanting to expose Phil, was a failure. Phil's bankruptcy case was closed, and he surrendered his Connecticut condo and remained streaming. Though
yeah, it was still amazing to this day. A lot of people couldn't believe his bankruptcy went through.
But did show there was an additional consequence of Phil's long-standing internet presence and infamy. The children that may have watched him in 2010 and grew to hate him over time have aged and become adults who are more proficient in all things, like trolling and archiving. Archiving, like creating graphs meant to keep track of Phil's expenses. This, compared to future archiving methods, made these appear rudimentary. Even so, the visualization of this data makes it clear-cut that Phil's earnings are on the rise. It was long thought that his channel would fade out, but year after year it's been persistent. This
again, it's why he's like, no matter what, he'll survive the end of time. That's why they call him a pig roach.
This is where a different archiving tool helps. PigPigGo is a website.
Okay, it's a Vestric. Actually, for this one, I think it's best to end it here for me on this, part 3 of my reaction, because we got less than an hour left now, and I'll save that for part 4. I just wanted to end it off on the WWE Champion section, but this looks like a good place to end it off, though. So man, so much to pack from that Chapter 7 bankruptcy story and WWE Champions. Yeah, to still to think he spent like around 40K on that game, from what Nathaniel Peels told me. And the January Harvest, I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, damn. I learned more about how horrible those trolls are. But damn, I know Phil's a dick, but man, some of the shit that happens to him, he doesn't really deserve, though. My God. Anyways, yeah, for this, like I said, I'll end it off here, and then I will continue reacting to the final part of my reaction in the next one. So again, tune in for part 4 and the finale of my reaction to the eternal downfall of DSP.